Here in about 5 minutes and then back, Wally.
Okay. Well, Claude, uh, how you got into elite hockey, because you really didn't plan on it. And then you also mentioned, yeah, you were a great athlete, one of the better ones on teams you played on, but when you went to the Q, you had a pretty good player. So I'm going to let you give me a bit of your background here, Claude.
Okay, so one of those kids grew up in a suburb in Quebec City, and then I love the game. I love doing sports and everything. And then the way I started playing hockey is on my 8th birthday, one of my uncles bought me a tabletop hockey game, and then I guess the whole evening we played, and I loved it. And when everybody left, there was a game on TV, and that was the Montreal Canadiens against the Chicago Blackhawks, and I watched that game, and then I guess I was hooked, and that was in March, and then in the fall I started to play hockey. I couldn't stand on my feet, but by the time I was able to skate the next year, I was running circles around players. And anyway, so my dad, I played my minor hockey, had a lot of fun. If my buddies didn't make double A, I would go down the A with them, or if they didn't make triple A, I would go down with them double A, even though I made those teams. And my daddy wanted me to play the local junior B team here, because the practice we were late, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night practice, and the games were on at 10:30 during the week, and I was going to a school downtown. So he told me, play you 2 years midget, find another sport, which I did. We're skiing, me and my friends, and I wasn't going to play hockey after my midget years. And then our team, my last year, we finished eighth, and we had a good year, but we were a solid team. And then we ended up surprising everybody and won the league and went to provincial. And you play well in provincial, you get some scouts. I get drafted in the Q11 round. I went there, made the team surprisingly, and then after that we realized why our team wasn't very good. They only kept three returning players, so we finished last, and we drafted the first pick, which was Mario Lemieux. So the rest was history. We went from last place to very competitive. 4,000 fans in the stands. I swear to God, 2,000 were scouts, and Mario could only had to play 3 years because he was a late birthday on top of that. So he was pretty special. And basically, I went from number one center coming from the double A to 2 seconds after they name him as a first pick to second center. So, but yeah, so that's how I started. But yeah, so if people that know me in Quebec, you know, they even my parents, and they thought I was too nice to play that sport. One of those kids I would play. Obviously, I was always the best player in the team, but I would get some abuse and just taking it. I was wondering why I was always on the ice, because I would get slashed, tripped, and everything. And then just to tell you the kind of player I was, a guy would call me the N word all season long, all game long, and I would bump into him during the game, and that I would say, "Oops, excuse me," and I would help him up. So that's the kind of guy I was. So can you imagine when I first got to my first game, when I played junior in Laval against Montreal, and then first of all, the warm up, my puck went on the side of the Montreal zone. So I came from Double A. We had our own pucks, so I didn't know the pucks were for everybody. So I would go in the Montreal zone to try to retrieve that puck, and nobody would give it to me. And I was skating around asking for the damn puck. So that's the mindset I had. So, but no, that's how I started, and learned this is it's kind of jungle in there as well, and then yeah.
Well, Claude, you yesterday you talked about it might have been in junior when you were playing, and you like to play tennis with a buddy,
Oh, that was racquetball. So
a
yeah,
racquetball. and then
Yeah.
Mario had never played. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, so basically, we had a membership at the gym, the hockey team, and me and Bobby Dallas, we would right after practice we would go, and basically we played before and after practice racquetball. So we loved the game. From September on, we played a lot. We are getting good. And in January, Mario asked us, and because we talked about the game all the time, and Mario asked us if he could try and see what it looks like. So he came and played with us. A racquetball you can play three at a time, and Mario couldn't keep up. Mario's not the type of guy is moving a lot, but he couldn't keep up, and we just destroyed him. But the first three games. But he's a smart player, smart guy, so he figured out the game. And by the fourth game, he knew his angle, where to put the ball. It just kicked her ass, and he barely moved, barely sweated. So that's all the skill. Like I was telling you, Wally, I was pretty good in all the sports, and then. But when you get to the next level, there's guys like me, a notch higher, and you look at the Lemieux, Gretzky, McDavid of the world, and those guys they're playing among the best in the world, and they're still two, three coaches above. So
Well, Claude and Tom, when we played, for my age, I was one of the better players. But I saw players that were younger than me that I thought they were better players. They were going to go places, and it's just amazing the talent differential between the greats and the good.
yeah.
So, Tom, do you recall anybody that you had the fortune of playing with as a kid or a competitive player that went on to a higher level and you never imagined that, for instance, or you did?
Well, there was guys that played in the NHL that I played with as kids, like a guy like Gary Younger.
Yeah.
He played shinny with us in the outdoor rink and stuff like that. And I remember they started. It was just community, and this ex-NHLer that had lost his eye in the NHL. He decided there should be an elite bantam team in Calgary. So he started it in the tryouts, and Unger and I were really small, but we'd been the top scorers in bantam the year before. And he kept cutting the small guys. We just go back to the end of the line and stay there. So anyways, they got started, and now that was South Calgary Artificial, so the ice was in about a month before, the regular rinks. And anyways, they got started, and they called both of us. We didn't make the team, but they called both of us and said, "You guys want to join the team now?" And I was playing with my community Richmond, and I said, "No, I'm going to play here." And Unger went there, and he got a hat trick the first game, and he never looked back from there. So that's one guy. He used to sit in high school at Viscount Bennett. He'd sit there all day squeezing tennis balls. And apparently his dad said, "What do you want to be?" He said, "A hockey player." And his dad said a place up in the basement or something for him. And I guess he just practices shot all the time. So that's kind of the difference, I think.
Claude, do you know if Mario was that way as a kid? He was totally committed.
Oh, he was passionate for sure. He was always the best player. Always look up at. I guess Gretzky was his idol, and he looked up to him. And he kind of played like him when he played with us. He was always behind the net, and with his long reach, he was deadly back there. But you could tell the guy had the skill set and smartness. He was very smart and very passionate, and he loved the game, and it was obvious from the get-go.
Well, I've got a question, Claude. You having coached and now you're working with players projecting to be, move up the ladder developmentally and get to a higher level. I'm really bewildered almost in the sort of like scouts, coaches, they don't really appreciate hockey IQ.
Exactly.
And I wonder, like right now, it's sort of like you notice a player that go coast to coast or has the puck all the time and can dingle and dangle and score goals, and he gets drafted, and there's no team play.
Mm-hmm.
How can you talk about that?
Oh, well, you're right, Wally. I'm watching some. I'm at that Rocky Mountain Classic right now, watching some games, and some kids, they're going to be first rounder picked. They got the puck all the time. They go coast to coast and stuff like that. And I remember when I was selecting players to make teams or Hockey Alberta stuff, those guys usually, obviously, would be my top five, but I would never put them on top, number one, even though they were the best players. To me, it always goes to hockey sense. Carry the puck, the guy is open, the best plays are there. The problem with the guys are going coast to coast all the time. First of all, smart team, smart coaches will figure it out. And I saw a couple of examples at the tournament. They start tag teaming on the kids, like two guys, double teaming. And the guy gets tired because he plays a lot, he plays alone, and he might get injured. And what I found, those guys are easier to stop in the playoffs. And they got shut down totally. And they want to play the same way by themselves. So I do a game analysis, and I watched a lot of hockey from the different junior team and college team and U18 to U15. And one thing I try to teach the kids when I critique their games or try to improve their games, it's all about hockey sense. Um, it's people say, okay, you can't teach hockey sense, but when you play a certain way when you're bantam or U15 and you move up, and the coaches, we got some good young coaches, volunteers. It's tough to find volunteer coaches to coach, and then they want to work on systems and try to win games and manage the bench, but the kids, they come up with the same bad habits or no habits, or how to make the right zone entries, and try to explain to them, okay, you go middle drive. Okay, that's good. You go middle drive. That's what the coach is saying. But there's a way to do the middle drive. You try to create the 2-on-1s in the middle drive, or closer, use the dots to support the puck carrier. And then I try to explain. I show them what happened if you don't do that. You might get the puck in the middle, but the defenseman, the weak side defenseman, is right on you. So that's why I try to teach the nuances of the game. And even I want to do that. I might be doing that with some kind of as a mentor with coaches, like look at their games, their power play, things like that, and try to critique them a little bit, because I see a lot of things. Like nowadays you can find. You go to coach's site or you go to YouTube, you can find power play breakouts, all that stuff. But you got to understand the nuances. And then when I see some of the games, I could see what the coach is trying to do, but the execution is not there at all, just because they weren't thought the nuances of the power play breakout or forecheck or stuff like that. So hockey sense is, people say you can't teach, but you can help the kids understand and show them the different nuances of the game.
Tom, I'm going to ask you because Tom, he understood this 40 years ago because he worked with Finnish and Russian coaches, and we were playing north-south, Finnish to Czech hockey. And Tom, over the many years, can you speak to this idea of developing smarter players than players with a hockey IQ.
Well, like Claude says, it's really hard to do. You know, you get the players, like one of the worst habits they got is the 1-on-5 players. They get the puck, maybe they get it at the top of the circles, and then they go backwards for a while and then come out to give themselves space. But now instead of having a 2-on-2, it's a 2-on-4 or whatever, because, you know, they went backwards. And, you know, they don't move it. So meeting Johanni in Finland there, he showed me about having rules about passing. Like, you know, you have to make at least one pass in each zone, and that causes things to happen. Like it causes now, I I blow the duck call if they don't do it, and if nobody in support, you can't pass the puck, right? Yeah, I mean you're there and you're on an island, so now people have to support. You have to look around. We play things like a 3-second game and a 2-second game, and all sorts of things like that to encourage the teammates to support and them to look. But it's hard to break people of the habits. I have a few right now on my team, and they're great stick handlers. But you know that, like Claude says, the other team just starts double teaming them. Or the worst thing is you head out towards the blue line, and you're out there by yourself on your backhand, and you're really stranded because they want to create space for themselves. So yeah, I think playing games and creating situations, you know, is like the last game I saw the Wranglers doing this. Is 3-4s put the puck from about the hash, put it behind the net, and two players go and get it and go north, you know, east to west with it, and the other player mirrors and they pass out there. And you know that idea of working the puck behind the net, but it is a real challenge to create some hockey sense. I think
Yeah,
good habits are the key.
yeah, like you mentioned there, Tom, is doing games and the small area games. It's the best way to do it. If you don't have the opportunity to show a lot of videos to the kids, like I help some coaches sometimes, and I go watch their power play practice. And the young coaches, they played hockey, maybe they played some junior A, whatever, but I'm watching the practice, and first of all, the properly practice is shoot the puck down, break out, set up, and that's all for the full hour. And kids cannot make passes. They can't bump. And then assistant coaches jump in and they get the puck all the time. So that's a waste of time. And then when I do my practices, I start as warm up, like different, well, a shooting drink, for example, kind of mirrors a breakout, but it's a shooting drills, and I had a few things in there. And then I got a couple of stations like for tipping, screening, one timer, coming, give and goes, and things like that. All those the skill sets needed to execute the power play, and then and then I might just for 2, 3 times have the power play going, full breakout and stuff like that. But I finish with games all the time related, like what he always used to say all the time at Hockey Alberta High Performance when I did it, I don't know, ages ago. He said, at the end in mind. Yeah, you have to set your practice at the end in mind, and even the games you play at the end got to relate to the rest of the practice. And I got some good small zone games like 4-on-2 with transition, and you could switch that to put a bumper in the middle, and then that teaches the guys moving the puck, heads up, one touch, and sometimes I add like a bunch of different colored puck, red, orange, black, blue, and they all have when you see, let's say, blue puck, has to be one touches, or orange puck has to be one time shot, or things like that. And so, and then you always say hockey is like repeat and retain, like so muscle memory, and that's the best way I think for us to teach somehow hockey sense. it becomes natural to them. And when they get in a game and they need to do a one-touch pass, they know automatically they're going to do that one-touch pass. So that's my thing on smaller area games.
Well, Claude, just wanted to sort of regress a little bit on the idea of hockey sense. We had Sammy Jo Small on, and she's coaching her daughter in U11 hockey years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing of all, she said, is they have the skill, but they don't keep their head up. And there's a point where they can keep their head up and carry the puck and see the ice. And she said scanning and seeing the ice is critical.
Mm-hmm.
At that age, if she was going to focus on one thing, whether it's head up and calling numbers, handling the puck stationary, and the coach putting his fingers up, there's progressive ways of teaching it.
Yes.
But I just want to share one of the ideas that Shayla, who coaches the other U15 team,
Sheila Katrick?
Yeah.
I coached her with my daughter, yeah.
She taught me about, I'm not sure what age it was, but she was with the U13s on the ice assisting, and they were scrimmaging, but they were mixed colors. And I don't know how they figured out who was who and which team. But then she said, no, we have colors on their helmets, colored tape.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep their eyes up and are looking. So it's those kind of ideas at the right age that might get them over the hump.
Yeah.
Of starting to get their head up and look and see and think and make decisions. But there are so many successful coaches that aren't of the mold of the three of us. We appreciate passing. We appreciate letting the puck do the work.
Exactly.
But there are some coaches who have more success than we've had just playing a two-way hockey game, 200-foot, outworking the opposition, out-battling the opposition, and not finessing to win. And that's the line I think that coaches struggle with. Is they have to find a balance of developing that work ethic, that compete, that battle mentality and hunger. And they also have to develop the vision and the ability to support, anticipate, think, and play together. So, I'm really glad we got to talk about that. And I didn't have it down to get into the technical side of things. So what I want to do now, I'm going to change the topic just because last week we had Terry O'Malley and Matt Hoven on talking about Father Bauer and the national team. And Claude, I remember when I played for the Father Bauer and the national team for 1 year. And when Dave King was coaching the team preparing for 88, he and I were friends, and he asked me to come out and assist. And I remember going out as often as I could, but I primarily worked with the defense. And I asked you the question yesterday, how the heck did you end up on that national team? And then talk about your experience there and how it impacted your development.
Yeah. like I mentioned earlier, growing up, I was it's a little different, nobody would think I could play the next level, or because of everybody figured, even my parents, I was too nice. But I was playing at University of Moncton, and then that was with the team, the 87 team, I guess, the year before I joined. Anyway, like the team, the national team would travel around, play exhibition games. And then during the NHL playoffs, when they start sending their guys down, So the lineup for Team Canada was smaller because Dave was leaving rooms to add some players. So they came to Moncton and they needed a couple of forwards and a defenseman. So me and Serge Roy, we went, and then I played well. We played against the Golden Flames, and then got a couple of points. And then in the spring, I got invited into Calgary for the pre camp. And I just in the playoff, I just hurt my knee, and it's one of those things I couldn't really train, and I could barely skate. And I came to Calgary in May, and I used all my hockey sense, my the skills I had to on one leg basically to try to give a good impression. And at the end, even though my English wasn't that great at the time, Dave told me like we're gonna invite you to main camp and make sure you take care of that knee and then and get in shape type of thing. And I felt like I dodged a bullet because I really, really wanted to play for the national team. So I came at the camp the next August. We played 2, 3 practices. Then we went. He kept the team. We went to Kiev and Frankfurt to play some games in Germany, and then. But I was supposed to go to the Winnipeg Jets training camp. I got invited by John Ferguson at the time. So on the way back, we stopped in Mannheim. I think Mannheim. We were going to play a game. And before the game, Dave asked me, I got a call for John Ferguson, and they want you at training camp this week. And Dave said that you could go, but you might lose a spot in the chance for the national team, and we really want to, have you longer. And then I thought, geez, traveling the world like I just did, I wanted to do that. So that's how I stuck. And then we had that first year. I think we played with 100 different type of players, and that stuck around all the way until the Olympics. So that was as an experience, Wally, Tommy. That was unbelievable. Traveled the world, saw all small town USA, small town Canada, Alaska to Japan. We went to Russia several times. We played against the best players in the world. We played at different rinks, indoor, outdoor, and different cultures and food and everything. And that was hard because we would get, for example, we'd get after playing in Germany and then we get to Sweden and Stockholm, a long flight. Then we're bus 2 hours to Gävle, and then it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Kinger said, "Okay, let's go practice." And you're sitting there on bed, you want to sleep, you almost want to quit the team and ask to be reinstated after. So we practice, and we do that again the next morning. Then we play that night. Then on the bus, on the plane, go to Finland, and then come back to Canada, and then take a week off, and then have a tour starting in Lethbridge, go to Saskatoon, Manitoba, and do it again. And it was hard, but kind of build character and stamina, and the thing Kinger used to say all the time is learn to play fatigue and head on a swivel, obviously, with the Russian, head on a swivel and learn to play fatigue. And that makes a difference, and that made me the hockey player I became afterwards.
Well, Claude, one of the things you brought up, you were a big man.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how tall or heavy you were when you were playing with the national team, but
6'1", and I'm shrinking.
okay. Well, when you got to play pro and even junior, because of your size, did they want you to be more aggressive and not play so smart?
Oh, that cost me 800 NHL games because for some reason, and sometimes also as stereotypes, when I got to the Canucks right after the Olympics, no, I just want to play my game, and I was pretty good at protecting the puck, take a hit to make a play, but I wasn't the type of guy that would shoot it down just to the sake of shooting it down. I would maybe chip by the defenseman and go get it, and do the same thing, cycle, get hit, cycle the puck, but because coaches, old school coaches, didn't like that at all. So dump it, and then it's, to me, no, defenseman is there. If I chip it by him and I go get it, even though I'm still in the corner, but instead of me chasing the puck, I have the puck. It makes sense to me, but it took me a long time to understand that. And when I played with Tommy McVie in the minors in Utica, New York, he taught me the other side of the game. So in the minors, I could have scored easily 100 points, but I was around the 80 points thing. But my defensive game was better. Puck management was better. And if you have the skill set and the hockey sense, you can play both sides of the puck easily. So, and that helped me to finally make New Jersey and went up and made the team. And I was plus 27, and then they put me at the start with Stachny and Claude Lemieux because I understood the short game with Peter Stachny. I was maybe one of the only guys that understood that. And then after that, he put me on the second line with Stéphane Richer and a young center just because he wanted me to babysit the line. So be cautious on the defensive side of the puck, so things I explain to the kids. If even if you think because you skill you should be top two lines and you're center, the chance you become a center in the NHL or junior, it gets smaller because the top players are centers. So you got to be able to play right, left. I went off wing to make the team in New Jersey because I could never make the team because I had to beat McLean, Lemieux, Richer, and Shanahan. So finally, they tried me on the left wing. I played 9 exhibition games. I would play a game in Boston, and then with Team A, and then I would jump on a private plane to go to San Diego to meet Team B. So, and I played the whole season off wing on my left wing, and that's how you use your skill set. And I was a plus 27 first on the team, and then I was 6th in the league in voting for the Connie Smythe. So that just it's using my skill set to a little bit like Guy Carbonneau did. He was supposed to be the second coming of Guy Lafleur, and then ended up being the best checker in the NHL. It's not like I was a checker, but if you have the skill set, you could do a lot of things on the ice if you put your mind to it.
Tom, you watch a lot of NHL games, and I'm watching the Flames play, and I'm thinking, even years ago, some of the players they've got are pretty damn skilled. Like the first, second line players, they were at one time first, second line players. But the way we've created the game is first, second line, third line, fourth line, but they're all today have first line skills.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the Flames have narrowed down the chemistry of the top lines yet. And the top lines, in some cases, might be the fourth line because they play a 200-foot game and they have skill, but they don't get a chance to play as much. You know that. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on that? Just as a coach, and first line, second line, third line, fourth line, even at your level, you've got a hierarchy. You're letting everybody play, but everybody that gets to the national team is the best players. And my philosophy with the women was everybody played all situations. A different line started every period. And the second half of the season, That's when we morphed into the roles that suited them and that they earned.
Yeah.
Tom, what's your take on the Flames?
Well, I think, like Claude, they don't have a fourth line that there's a fighter on anymore. Like every team had that, right? And everybody now that plays has their skills are really good. It's the difference is the game sense. Like Calgary, Zary is one of the best stick handlers in the league. He's unbelievable. But they're still having trouble figuring out who their fourth line center is. And they've tried different guys there. I like the guy that came from college last year, but he's not got a chance for it. But yeah, the players now are so skilled that it's kind of incredible. The game against Montreal the other day was really great, and I don't know, nobody misses passes, but they started the game that you went with me against Edmonton,
Yeah.
and the first he gets a puck, he's a blind pass up the boards, loses. Another guy gets a blind pass up the boards, loses it, and the puck's in their net after 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So good habits, no matter what level you play with, right? Good habits and close support are critical no matter where you play. And,
Yeah.
the players are incredibly skilled. Even the girls I have now are better than the AAA girls I had with the Flyers. I took them over after you there, Claude.
Yeah.
There's some really incredible skills, but it's how to play the game that's the key, right?
Yeah. I agree with you. I remember I used to go see the prospect camp, the Flames prospect camp, and I think I saw you there a few times. But one thing I noticed back then is that the full drills to start, and the guys are flying 10-foot saucer passes, bar down, and everything else. And then hockey sense drills started. And some guys seem to brain short circuit, and then that's when you saw the Goudreaus of the world like standing out compared to the rest of the guys. This year, I went to see the team, the prospect, or the training camp. I was amazed by everybody. First of all, is way taller than me now. They're way faster. They got a long reach. They pick up everything up in the air, and they can skate like the wind. And if you walk in the building, you don't know if you don't know the Flames, you don't know any of the players, you could pick a different teams than it is right now. So as I'm watching the Flames, and like you said, you're talking about Zary, for example, he's a really skilled guy. But sometimes what's happening, I know it happened to me too. Like if you put in a role like on the wingers and the third line type of thing, but you still got your mindset of being a skill guy. And one time you go outside in, toe drag of a defense and score a nice goal. And now you think you could do that every time you do it. And I think it's the game against Edmonton. Zary gets the puck in the middle, gets some speed, he got pressure coming from the side. The guy's putting his stick on him, and then I think he tried to toe drag. I think it was Eklam. He tried to toe drag him. Obviously, he's leaning, and they tried to do the things he knows, the habit he used to do to toe drag a defenseman, gets poke check, goes the other way, and I think he didn't play the rest of the period. And that's the
Yeah,
thing.
he went to the fourth line that game, I think.
Yeah, I watched that play, and I was kind of pissed off when I watched it because you're doing so well, and then again, I saw myself, and I got some coaches mad because I thought, oh, I can beat that guy, and maybe, but you got to look at the situation. The score is we were down 1 goal, end of the period. You finally got out of the zone. It's the second period, long shift. Your defensemen, they want to get off the ice, and then you try to be cute. Experience would tell you just to chip the puck by and go get it and make sure the puck is deep. But that's the type of thing. Nowadays, back then you got a first line, second line, the checking line, and the energy lines, and And the guys are so skilled. They all first liner were coming up from the junior level or the minor leagues.
Yeah, well, the Flames, that Wranglers team has incredibly skilled guys.
Yeah.
You know?
But there's not enough room for them.
Well, yeah, that I think like on a lot of teams, the bottom six could interchange with the top two lines of the minor league team a lot of times, as far as skill goes. Maybe not hockey sense or grit.
Yeah. That's the thing is performance on demand. When you have your chance, you got to look at the grit, show your skills and smartness, and then get in a battle and stay in a battle, you know.
Yeah. Like I look at Zary and he played the first game I saw him play center. I said, that's Doug Gilmore.
Oh, yeah.
He was making plays, making passes. They don't really have a playmaking center, eh?
No, they don't.
But they've never let him play center. And I would love to see him play 20
Yeah.
games at center and see if he's an NHL center.
Yeah, so this is a perfect season for the Flames to do this, actually. But you win a few games at the start, and all of a sudden they look competitive. So the mindset might change a little bit. Uh, teach the guys how to win. That's what they're trying to do now. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask both of you to wear your coach/scouting hat. I want you to talk about Coronado. He got 2 goals against Montreal. They rifled the puck in both the goals. I've liked him since he was at the Flames' first camp. He just can't seem to lock down a spot because he's a pretty complete player. And they're trying to find out where to put him, or they're trying to find out how to get the most out of him with whoever. So your take on Coronado, Claude, and then Tom.
when I first saw him play, I took my team to Boston and I watched him play at Harvard, and obviously he was very good there. And when I saw the first camp here and the first season, the games he played, I used to call him Crazy Legs. The legs were going 100 miles an hour, and the shot is unbelievable. What I saw the last couple of years and this year, but it's getting better now. It's the puck protection and the physical play along the board. He uh, he works so hard. It's noticeable they work so hard to win those battles along the board. But sometimes he would just get destroyed, maybe because he was a little light and stuff like that. But he's one of those guys, as soon as he gets stronger, thicker, he's going to be a threat and they'll find him a spot because his shot is an elite shot and he's a decent skater. And you could tell the plays he made yesterday, just wrist shot, won the game. But prior to this, early this season, before he got set down, and last year, what I noticed is like he was a little frail. He got knocked off the puck too easily, and that I think that was the issue with him and the coaches and the confidence. I'm not in there, but that's what looking from the outside, that's what I noticed.
Tom.
Well, I think he can be a Cole Caulfield. He shoots like him. He's got that elite shot, like he showed that last game. And apparently he worked with that Danielle, a skating coach, all summer, and his
Mhm.
skating is, he's a lot more solid on his skates now.
Yeah,
And I think he's kind of like who's a like Claude says, I like Pelche was getting knocked off the puck too much. I think he was like that too, and I think that he's a lot stronger on the puck. But boy, it's really hard to find a guy that can beat the goalie on a shot
yeah.
in
There's
the
not too many of
NHL.
those. Yeah,
He's really elite as far as I think I think that last game put him on the team for the rest of the season.
yeah,
He
definitely.
only got sent down because he doesn't have to go on waivers.
Yeah, I went through that. I know that could be frustrating. So, but yeah, he's
Well, Claude, I know we're talking talk between love, but I'm gonna get to the. We had a lot of conversation about the difficulty you had, breaking the barrier, and earning the respect of your ability and talent to be able to make teams and play.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what happened, what it was like growing up, but in the Q with the national team and then in the NHL, you had a lot of bumpy roads where, I'll be blunt, there was abusive coaching.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. You want me to speak? There. I guess I come from an era that you got a certain type of players that make the NHL. And then I always have double, even triple whammy. I come from the Q. I'm black and I'm French, and I don't speak the English that well. So I had to deal with that all the time. And like I told you, like when I first started playing hockey, that was around the time the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cups against Chicago, and then the Russians, the 72 series. And then I told everybody I wanted to play like the Russians. That was my thing. That was my goal. And um, they, well, playing junior, my first junior game, we were playing against Montreal, and then after seats of the fans from Montreal, and then I jump on the ice, home game, excited like hell. My parents in the stand, cross over behind the net and end up on the side of Montreal, and the abuse. The only abuse I ever had is other players calling me Blackie on the ice, and this is the monkey sounds, the go back to Africa thing all game long. That was a buzz. That was the worst game I ever played in my life. I remember going to my billet's house and I sat in the corner. I couldn't breathe. I spent the whole night in that corner on the floor in the dark. And finally, it was about like 10 in the morning. I got up from that corner and I said, it's my choice. Do you want to go home? Do you want to keep following your dream and deal with that, or just go home, have a regular job, and maybe have the same situation? So I swore to God that I would never let that buggy me. But I had a tough time in the sense that in the minor leagues I was always very good. I played well. I was always a top guy. But I would get to the NHL, and some of the old-fashioned coaches, they look at me and kind of dismiss me right off the bat, and they I didn't have the look of the hard-nosed Canadian, north south bang bang back check bang bang type of things. I always want to make plays. I always made good passes, create stuff, but that wasn't good enough. And then for some reason, there's always been the stereotypes, like because you're a black guy, you need to be a fighter. Like it's everybody that I tell that I played hockey and a professional, they always tell, "Oh yeah, you must have been a tough guy. You must have been a tough guy." I said, "Why?" I played 7 years in Europe. The tough guys don't go to Europe, but I had to deal with that. And what during the pandemic, as I'm watching NHL Classic games, and first of all, I watched some of those games, and I said, was I that bad too? So I go back to when I played, and I look at the coaches behind the bench, and I look at the coaches that coached me, and I realized that every time I made a team and I played either a national team with Dave King, or New Jersey with Tommy McVie, or what's his name? I forgot his name, but they got to know me. They had me long enough to figure out what kind of player I was, and they used me the proper way. Any other coaches, old school coaches that coach with fear, that there are no technical, not tactical and they just assume you're supposed to know how to play the game. I never last along with those coaches, and even though the GM saw a lot in me, and that's why they signed me, but uh, my first year at Vancouver, the coach was so sarcastic every time I came back on the bench. I'm starting my career, second NHL goal shift, score my first NHL goal, and I'm thinking I'm going to play a long time in that league, but it's just, coaches, they needed to get to know me. There's my agent told me as well. Some of the people, if you come from a coach that played the NHL, comes from a small town, Saskatchewan, and he has to deal with black French kids from Quebec City, a different style, different everything. Some people weren't comfortable with that, and that's what I learned after I retired. They weren't comfortable with that, and then that's why they rather not have to deal with me. And when I decided to go play to Switzerland, that was during the lockout of '94, and then my agent was trying to find a place. It was harder because some of the NHL guys in the lockout were going to play. And I found a little town. I just want to have my feet in Switzerland, and I found a little town that not too much money, and that was between me and the guys from the East Coast League. And I just finished playing with the Flyers, and my agent had a tough time to sign me. He couldn't understand why. And then finally they decided to sign me. I got there. I played. I ended up playing 3 years there, and then we won the league as biggest upset in Swiss hockey history. And then that GM came to Calgary, I would say, 10 years after I retired. And we're talking about my journey there. And he said, "You're the best import players we ever had. We're a small budget team. You did everything asked and stuff like that." And I said, "Why it took you so long to sign me?" And he said, "Oh, we loved it. We wanted you badly. That makes sense. But we had to go through the sponsors, the donators, everybody, the fans, at the referendum if they were okay to have a black guy as a player." And then the vote came out 52 to 48 in favor of me being a hockey player. And so
I think the
that just
prejudice
tells
there
you,
is
like,
worse, eh, Claude?
what's that?
I think the prejudice there is worse than Canada.
Oh, there's I never got so many bananas thrown over on my head. It
I
just
saw that when I was in Austria. I thought the prejudice was pretty high there.
one time, you know, people sort of respect me around the league and stuff like that, even though I would go on the road and I could hear the monkey sounds and stuff like that. But one day, a reporter wanted to mic me up. He wanted to know, he wanted to see how I dealt with speaking English, some German and French with the different players on the team. He was doing a section on leadership. And then the mic didn't work, and so he said, "We'll try some other time." And we went to a town like I had for 3 years, the worst time in my life, close to the German border with a lot of neo Nazis, and they would come to watch the game and stuff like that. And after the warm up, he comes in and he puts the mic on my chest, and I said, "I don't know if it's the right place for me to do this, but anyway, the problem I had with that town was before I went to Germany and stuff like that." So I get on the ice. There's a blow up bananas from blue line to blue line with my name on it. I said, "Uh-oh." And that game was awful. We won it. So the next morning, I was in the dressing room shaking. I wanted to kill everybody, and the players were awful towards me. So the next morning, I woke up late and I look at my phone, about 21 texts, and go, "Claude, go see the newspaper, go see the newspapers." But I forgot I was mic'd up. So I get the newspaper, and there's a middle section, 10 pages, and there was my left winger was a black kid, black Swiss kids too. And then it was about the game and some of the things that were said, and then I forgot about I was mic'd up. And so the league the league came down on the owner of the team, the player suspension and stuff like that, and I thought that would come to North America. It never did, but people talk about the passion of the game, and some people tell me, "Oh, you didn't make it in the NHL because, well, so." But yeah, I love the game so much that I was never going to let that stop me.
Well, Claude, when you talked about different coaches, uh, you had a lot of good things to say about Herb Brooks.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could speak to that and the team and what you got out of that. Because I remember in Father Bauer, Herb was sitting with me up above when Dave was running a practice. And he was ecstatic with what was happening. He couldn't believe all these hockey players were centralized to develop under good coaching.
Yeah.
So a little bit on Herb, and it was New Jersey, was it? Or you go ahead.
Yeah. So you're talking about him being at Father Bar. We had like Kinger sometime would ask me to and a couple of other guys to come back earlier to Calgary just to be part of the pre tryouts, pre camp to select some players. And I remember Herb Brooks was there with Lou Nanny, and I think Lou Nanny was there. And then Pat Quinn and Brian Burke came from Vancouver as well. So I went to lunch with Pat Quinn and Brian Burke, and they were really interested in me and stuff like that, and they kind of wanted to sign me. And Lou Nanny and Herb, like they were really interested, and Herb, I guess, really liked me, and we were going back and forth with them and Winnipeg and John Ferguson and stuff like that, and then, like I told you, like Pat Quinn flew me to Vancouver, wine and dine, and I love it. Sunny, it's beautiful, and so I signed there. But the mistake I made, I know when I told Lou Nanny that I was going to Vancouver, he got quiet, and I felt like they really really wanted me. And then looking back, I should have gone to the place that they had a coach. The Canucks had no coach yet. They finally hired a coach, and when I got there, the coach didn't like me and never got going in Vancouver. But Herb ended up going to Vancouver, New Jersey, and then he was there as an assistant, and then he always talked to me and always gave me some tips. I was doing something good. He would come from the stands and come to see me right away, and then he ended up being a head coach, and he really liked me, always talked to me and stuff like that, which beside Tommy McVie and Dave Kane, nobody ever done to me. And then I got a arbitration issues with the Devils. That's why it ended there. But I heard I learned a lot from him, and then as I'm coaching, I take something from all those three coaches, and looking back, I had terrible coaching all my career. NHL coaches not good at all. Some of the European coaches not good at all. So those three, I learned a lot, and then what to do and what not to do as a coach.
I'm going to throw out a question here, both for you and Tom. What are the qualities of a good coach?
Well, for me, it's communication. And one thing is caring about the development of the players. Communication is important because, as I'm working with my game analysis, and ask questions to the kids, and he said, "Oh, the coach never tells me anything. I don't know why I don't play." I go ask him, what I need to do to be better, and then they never get any answers. So, you're as a coach, you got to be a good leader, a good communicator, and delegate. I'm pretty good at delegating to my assistant coaches. I want to make sure they're involved. I want to make sure my trainer is involved, and that and then I sharing knowledges as well. So that's my take, and that's what I feel a good coach should be.
Tom.
I agree with Claude about that. The players, they want to get better, and you have to be able to talk to them about, what they're doing and what they could do to get better, and and somehow get it through that, they know that you're talking to them because you want to help them, and you're not just giving them, bawling them out or whatever. And that's an art in itself. But yeah, I agree with Claude what he says. Because you are coaching people, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Well, Claude, a friend of mine who's bilingual, brought me out to University of Ottawa to work with the men's and women's college team. He wrote a book, and it's a leadership book, but he works with pro teams, football, hockey, and he said the art of coaching is the ability to do the right stuff, the right amount at the right time. And so knowing the game and being able to teach and not overload and not give too much information, and sometimes being quiet and saying nothing and just a look on your face is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an art to being a great coach. Like some of them to me just did it naturally.
Yeah.
I played senior hockey for a couple of guys that they weren't technical at all, but they were authentic. I respected them, and I could sense they respected me. And you might say, well, they cared, and they did. They were just, they weren't geniuses about the game and technically off the charts with information. I've enjoyed playing for them, but my best experience growing up, when I left college, play with the senior Quakers. 5 of us left the college team, and we went to play in a league against the U.S. national team and the Canadian national team,
Mm-hmm.
Calgary, Edmonton, and Drumheller. And the old pros and the pros coached on the bench. They were calling the game. I just sat there, my eyes lit up, my ears were wide open. But playing college hockey, I never had that understanding of the game that these guys had on the bench. So I learned more from the players than I did from the coaches. And the coach let us play, and we did very, very well. So can you talk to that as a player? How much has players helped you compared to coaches, teammates?
You mean players?
Guys that you were on the bench with, and on the ice with, off the ice with, you could confide in, and that you listen to more than others.
First, when Mario played junior, I watched him like a hawk. I learned so much for that kid, even though he was 15, 16. Some of the stuff he did that I ended up doing in my career, just watching him play. When I was with Jersey, I was sitting in the practice rink with. I was between Peter Stastny and Slava Fetisov. And like I said, the first half of the season, I was playing with Peter Stastny. Oh my God, the discipline and everything. I learned so much from him. But before that, when I was in Quebec City, we were at the gym where I was working out. The three Stachny brothers were working out in that same gym, and the two other brothers went to Europe, and we still got a month to train, and then we had a specific training. So I trained with Peter, and he had a book, and we had the same exercises, and he would like note how he felt after 45 setups. He would note it. He said, I feel strong or not strong or average. And me, I just go 45 setup, chin up, bench press and stuff like that. He was his book was full of notes, how he was training, how he felt after 30 seconds, after a minute. And that was amazing. And I was just following it. So there's that discipline. And then practice wise, I was watching him. I was on the same line, so I wanted to stick on this line. So I was asking him questions, and he was telling me where to go and not to go certain situation. I remember one of the first time I was wide open, and I asked for the puck, because I came from the minors, like the guys got their head down. He never passed the puck to me, but when we got back on the bench, he just give it to me. Never ask for the puck. I saw you. And then I learned a lot from that, because after when I played, and that's what I try to teach my kids, uh, bait people. I know you're open, but I'm going to put my stick in a position, my body, the way I look, in a way that nobody knows that I see you, and then the lane's going to be there. If you ask for the puck, no, they're gonna react, and there's be a stick in the lane. So those are the type of thing I learned, like a guy from a guy like Peter Stachny, and watching some of the other guys play, and then it's amazing.
Some of them you just have to let play, and you'll see how good they are. But if you overcoach and they're going to do what you tell them all the time, they're never going to emerge and be creative and do things to the level of thinking that Peter did there.
Yeah,
I've been a guy that always I don't like yelling for passes.
mhm.
Players
I don't either.
they may be open, but the situation sometimes they're not open and they're yelling for passes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of those, and that goes to hockey sense and
Yeah.
selfishness. But to go back to that a second, I got a perfect example is like my daughter, for example. When I coached her, obviously she was doing well. It's not like because I was playing her more or whatever, but I just let her be herself. And she would come to the Hockey Alberta camps, and they would tell her to do this, to do that, and Cassandra always listened to the coach to the T. And they would say, use your speed, go wide, and then she would go wide. And sometimes there was no more room left. She was almost below the red line, the goal line. And I would tell her, yeah, when you see the defenseman, because of your speed, she's back, fake and cut in front of her. Wow, no, they want me to go wide. That they want me to go that. Wow, so I couldn't fight that. And then she played college, and the coaches tried to, she was the fastest guy. She's the only one that could skate with Boston College and all those the top U.S. national team players like Kendall O'Quinn. But they wanted her to play a certain way, and then I tell her, wow, maybe she should. Wow, they want me to do this and that. So fast forward, she had a decent career, and then she goes to play pro in Sweden, and the coach got fired, and then the assistant coach has his daughter on the team, but he just let the girls play. And my daughter, all the thing I tried to teach her, she was doing it, and she was both 200 feet player, offensively and everything, and just the coach did. She had nobody telling her what to do every single shift. So that's there's I remember when I first coached this, I had so many information for the kids. There were so many things they needed to learn, and I didn't know which one to which to tell them. And like when they say, "Oh, go in the dressing room with 3 things," but I had about 10 things, and I had to pick the right ones to explain, and not enough time. But yeah, it's communication is always a big thing.
And I think what I've come to the conclusion of, because, just like you want to say everything, and, I think that good habits will carry you through everything. And then with good habits, you can read the play. Say, okay, they've taken the ice in front of me away. I've got to go somewhere else. And this sort of thing. But, like telling your daughter just to go wide all the time. And that's when you're a coach, you think that player can beat people wide. And I mean, that there's so many options when you've got the puck, and then if you got the skill to pull them off. Can you do the little pull up and cut in front of that D and make plays? And that's you have to give the players the good habits and the skills to be able to do those things, but then you can't tell them what to do all the time. So
Yeah.
I worked with the U13 team last night. I'm on the bench handling the D door. They won the game 6-0. Outshot the team 37-7. Kyle Wanvig's coaching, unbelievable job of preparation. Giving up 7 shots in a hockey game, that's a testament to how to play without the puck.
Yeah.
The very first shift, neutral zone, after the face-off, there was a turnover in the neutral zone. The other team got it. There were 3 back checkers on the player in the neutral zone. That caught my eye right away. And they got the puck back and they went into the zone with it. And I'm on the bench and I'm looking at the forward coaches because I'm working with the D. I'm saying, I'm going to play the game out loud on the bench and say, that's the back check we want. But they did it all game because Kyle's coached it all year. And they're playing so hard without the puck. And Kyle's learning now to play with the puck. And he actually made a joke in the dressing room about me wanting him to pass more. He's going to win, he could win the league playing not a possession game as much as a dump-in game. But he's got a lot of talent out there, and I'm just trying to get teams that are playing a dump-in game to play more possession, teams that play possession. Don't be afraid of dump in and pressure and skating harder. There's a balance. You look at your talent and you've got to sort of complement the talent you've got to play the best game they can. And I think good coaches are figuring that out. As they let the players sort of evolve, discover who they are, give them boundaries, a little bit of structure, and let them play within the structure. I think we grew up, Claude, we were taught to jump and chase. Drive skate, not take the ice they give you in the middle. And so players were taught not to think. They were told what to do. They'll figure things out if we let them, and they'll learn to play if we let them. But that art of coaching, how much are you going to tell them, and what are you going to tell them, when are you going to tell them, so you don't interfere with their thinking.
Yes.
They make decisions, not you on the bench. And
so that's why you need to be well structured and in all type of situation, cover all the bases, and this is the structure. And then from that, everybody knows the structure. So from that structure, be creative, do your thing, be yourself, and that's the because if you don't have the right structure, and you let them go as well, they might figure it out. But we've been talking to hockey sans and coaching and stuff like that, so they'll confuse their teammate and stuff like that. But the way I see it, the way I do it, this is a structure, and then play within that structure, so everybody knows their marks, and then you could be creative or read and react as you want.
Well, I want to talk a bit about Connor Bedard, and what we're talking about. Obviously, he's the kind of player that didn't play 40-second shifts. I watched him play major junior, and he would play as long as he could, 4-minute shift. He got all kinds of extra ice time, and last year at Chicago was a struggle, but they interviewed him, and he got it. When he was playing junior, they had to win World Juniors. He was on the ice all the time, and he could do his thing. But when I talked to Brad Pascal about the American League team, and Brad's the assistant general manager with the Flames and manager of the Wranglers. The biggest problem is with our draft picks, they don't know how to play a short shift. They've all been so good at the junior level, they don't have good habits. 200-foot habits without the puck. They take all kinds of risks, which have made them be as good as they are.
Yeah.
And now the learning curve here for a coach is reining them in to that structure to the point where they still contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Leafs struggle with their superstars. All the teams struggle with their superstars. And I think that the bottom line to me is shift length and energy.
Yeah. Well, try
NHL
to get good habits from the junior midget level, and it starts with that. And to your point, Wally, I remember every year I coached the Buffs at tryouts and the start of the season. I had, for some reason, the minor midget players, the two teams at the top players in the league, score in the league. They're on the ice all the time. They cut corners and everything. But when they got to me, they had a tough time making the teams. I kept them on the team because they were the top players the year before, but their skating was not up to par. The intensity level was not up to par. Everybody else wanted to make the team so bad they were going hard, and it's amazing. It just the bad habits carries. And there used to be an expression, "This guy is a good junior guy," meaning like after junior he's done. He could be the top scorer. You see a lot of those guys after that they just can't make it. Minor NHL or minors after that. So
back in your day, Claude, national team or whatever, what was your shift lengths?
oh, they were short. With the national team when we played the Russians, 20, 30 seconds, they have to be solid. You didn't have the puck. You had to work hard to get it back or protect. NHL, the shift length, if you were going over 40 or 45, you heard it coming back on the bench. Obviously, the top guys are at the longer leash, but that's why I try to teach my kids. Just give me a solid 30, 40 seconds all out.
Yeah. But the idea of shift length and playing the Russians, people out there don't really know what we had to cope with.
Oh, yeah.
They were so skilled. I remember Dave King came back from the Izvestia,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like it was yesterday. He said, "Wally, we never touched the puck in the first period. We never had possession in the first period." And he said, when I came to the dressing room and stood outside the door, the players were saying everything that we were saying as coaches. Short shifts, face the puck, swivel ahead,
Well, I
stop
was there. I was there.
Yeah. And he just laughed at it because until you experience being outplayed to the degree, you don't learn the importance of it. And
Yeah.
nobody really knew how good the Russians were.
Exactly. And to your point, Wally, I was at that game. I remember thinking a fella asking the ref if we could play with a second puck, and we never. And that was the first, my first time as Vestia, first time playing those Russian. As it was another world. But the next year, yeah, I don't know if you were on that trip or whatever, we beat the Russians in the semifinal. We work our butts off. And if you'd walk in our dressing room, we were sitting down and with a gear on, sweating, and it's just like we lost the game. It's not like we lost the game. We give it all. We worked so hard, and we knew what to expect. Head on the swivel. They were under siege a lot, but we worked hard, and I never worked so hard in my life in a hockey game to that game.
Well, Claude, my job really was to work with defensive skating,
Yeah.
primarily with the defense. And I wasn't a defenseman, but I became sort of a skating expert, and I was a bit of a technical coach. So I spent a lot of time on facing the puck and controlled skating, like playing defenses, knowing when and how to pressure, when and how to contain. And we could play the Russians 5-on-5, no doubt. And we had good habits, but we could maintain D side. We wouldn't overskate or the puck in our end and give them the inside of the ice. But there was so much time spent on what I call defensive tactical skating, and that nobody teaches it anymore. It's all offensive skating, and
Yeah.
they're so good that I like it because it's entertainment that you want. You don't want, you don't buy tickets to see a team win 1-0 because of their defense.
Yeah.
But I think we really learned how to coach and teach with Dave in that environment. He really, and Tom's taken one of his drills. You remember the backward race drill where the D were on the dots and the forwards would be on the goal line with a puck?
Yeah.
And I remember spending time on backward striding, allowing only one crossover to start, sit tall, ride a horse, shoulders over the heels because you're going backwards, north-south arms, just all the teaching points that nobody does today. And when we did that drill, it took a while, but the D could start on the dot and the forward would be on the goal line. Now, if the forward was too fast, you might back the D up a bit, give him a chance. And I remember when Randy Craig joined the team.
Oh, I remember that. Exactly.
And we did that drill. Well, we had to put him at the top of the circle so he wouldn't get beat.
He got killed.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. He got killed. He was so mad. I think he was mad and embarrassed. Like that was unbelievable.
I remember it was like yesterday where, okay, so here I am today, 40 years later, trying to teach coaches that this matters. This is important. And Tom's taken some of those drills and applied them. And our defense are striding well backwards. They're maintaining gaps. But back in that day, gap control, Dave always used to say a horizontal gap and a vertical gap. And I don't know if you remember, but you weren't a defenseman, but normally you let align your outside shoulder with the defenseman's inside shoulder. You keep them outside.
Hmm.
Well, against the Russians, we had to align our shoulder with the middle of their body, the crotch. We had to tighten up that horizontal gap.
Yes.
That's how finite the level of skill is. And now in today's game, I don't think you want to play anybody striding backwards. You want to surf them.
Yeah.
You want to angle them and take them out in the neutral zone. Don't allow the entries. So
Yeah.
the game today is growing so fast, and the NHL game is just wonderful to watch. So
That's why the supporting on the ice is important. You're talking about surfing. For the defenseman to be able to stop a guy at the red line, his partner has to start surfing across to get a loose puck. But yes, and the playoff Edmonton against I don't know if you remember Edmonton against Colorado. McDavid got the puck. He went flying, and then McCarr was skating backwards, and he stayed with him the whole time. It's almost like it
I
was.
remember that play.
I was shocked, and he just barely skated backwards, and he stayed with McDavid. That's what I knew that kid was special. I think McCarr is a superstar like McDavid is.
oh yes.
Yeah, I see. He got
Yeah,
almost
Shumi
30
coached
points.
him in the
Right?
Flames there. Shumi coached him in Bantam on that. You know Mike, right? Did you play with him
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Switzerland?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said he played with one of the Staskies. I don't know which one, Anton or whatever.
If it's
He
in
played in the
Europe,
line.
it's Anton. Yeah.
Yeah. He said he told him just be near the dot with your stick on the ice. And Shumi can really shoot the puck. He said he just put the puck on his stick and he'd fire it.
Yeah.
We're going to be working on those defensive skills tonight at practice.
Yeah. Tom, I don't know if you got a pen and paper handy, but I put a drill on for surfing. I think it's the best one out. Claude, if you can visualize.
I saw it on the internet there.
Yeah. There's a one-on-one puck protection in diagonal corners at each end. And on the whistle, the puck carrier races to the other end. And the second player moves to the neutral zone and surfs the guy racing to the other end.
I've seen that drill, yeah.
What a drill. Like, I saw one of the girls do it with the U13s, and she wasn't their best player, but she was their smartest player. And it's amazing how some defensemen that aren't flash and dash and look good, they can play so smart. That's what I find watching the D-Door last night. Probably the best defensemen were the 3, 4, 5 defensemen. They think the game, like they know how to switch. And I was amazed. It was just great to watch. And that's where I think coaches can make a big difference in letting the kids figure it out, think the game, and just keep the fundamentals in terms of tactical play simple. But
repetition and retention.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, I've got some work to do here at home, Claude. I'm looking at the notes we took yesterday. I think we've pretty well covered everything I want to do, and I'm sure glad I had you on. Claude, one last thing. What are you going to be doing with Girls Hockey Calgary and possibly Tom's team?
I think when I talked to Craig, he mentioned skills and small area games, and he feels that they need a lot of that because you could have camps throughout the season, work on stuff, but and you could have the same stuff that the coaches work on, but work on drills, small area games, and and that's what I think. That's what the girls need. So that's my expertise I would brought in. I'm sure there'll be other guys working on skating or
Yeah,
other
we've
stuff.
got guys working on puck skills and pivoting and skating.
Yeah,
A really good guy, Riley Hearn from the Canucks, that does really good edge work.
yeah,
Uh,
that's good, especially with
Tom,
girls.
Tom uses varieties of games. So does Shayla, as you well know. She'll be familiar with that.
Well, Sheila, she did a lot of those with me when I coached her.
Yeah,
So she's seen a lot of small area games for sure.
yeah.
Actually, I now you saying she texted me. She always wanted to reach out and that I think it was on LinkedIn, I think, and I don't think I answered her. I gotta check. Yeah, no, that's what I'll be doing, and so I'm looking forward to it because I watched some of the games and some of the camps because I'm working with a couple of girls, and I know they need help. I saw Tommy on the ice with his group the other day. You don't have enough of that, with Cassie, and that's the first practice I saw that was really good. But I'm talking about maybe the lower levels. I've seen practices that the parents are involved too, I think, at some of those. So this is coaching is the key. It's the key. It's try to create a culture. Um, I don't know about I haven't been around girls hockey since Cassandra left, and I was expecting it to be a little higher level. The players higher, and they are pretty good, but I was expecting it bigger again. A step up. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I only saw two or three practices and a
Do you
couple of
not think
games.
the skills are higher level? Individual skills?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Individual skills, obviously, yeah, they're better. I'm just talking about the hockey. Well, maybe hockey sense in a sense, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's
I was expecting more.
coast to coast hockey. Carry it as far as you can until you lose it, and then they go the other way.
That's what I see,
Yeah.
and doing it with better skills.
Yeah. No, I
And
think the biggest
that's why
struggle
it's
for
so
me.
easy to defend because you just back pressure the puck carrier and they're just playing, basically making a 2-on-1 against them. There's very few that, except last year, Jason, whatever, he used to play for the Oilers. He coached a team and his daughter played, and they played half the game. Chimera or whatever. But anyways,
Oh, Jason Chimera, yeah.
yeah, his daughter played and she was a playmaker and she played with this girl that could fire the puck. And the two of them walked away with a scoring title. They're both playing midget this year, but the fact that she passed the puck just changed everything because this girl could get open and she just fired the puck.
Mm-hmm.
But that's unusual to see. That's why I'd love to see Harry play center. I just think he could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think their concern is like the puck management and then the D zone. I think that's.
You know what? They said that about Bennett all the time. Always too stupid to play center and blah, blah, blah. And 2 playoffs, he played center, led the team in scoring. And then the
I
next
know.
season, he's playing wing again.
Yeah, well, what's the story there? Because he was their
Oh,
best player in the playoffs. He goes to Florida. Day
2
one
years
to
in a
now.
row.
Day one to now is like is they play the same way during the season that he played playoffs with the Flames. He
But
plays the
the
same way.
Flames didn't let him play center. They played him wing. And
Mhm.
and the narrative was, oh, he's not smart enough to play center. I'm sitting there thinking, what? He certainly was in the playoffs. And now he's
Yeah,
recognized as one of the best centers in the league. He's tougher in nails. He handles a puck. He goes to the net. I mean, he plays with grit all the time. And he
back to
wanted to
back
stay
center.
here.
Mhm.
He wanted to stay here.
I don't know.
One of the
I guess
stupidest
he's
things
not
I ever saw.
complaining in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Probably doesn't want to stay here middle of January, but
Yeah. Okay, guys, I got stuff to do too. So we'll talk to you later.
Cassie's coming on the ice with me tonight.
Okay, so that's your team you're coaching it? Is that your team
Hmm?
you're coaching, or just you're doing just
Yeah,
skill?
no, we practice at Henry Vining at 4. We have a 90-minute practice, and then we go to Lethbridge tomorrow, and they bring the teams from the south, from the north down. And so tomorrow we play St. Albert, then we play Edmonton, then we play Lloydminster.
Okay, so you're the head coach of that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't sure because I didn't have time to talk to you. I wasn't sure if you're doing skills or you're coaching that team.
No, there was
No,
a
he's
skills
head
coach
coach
out there
that team.
at that one.
He's head coach
Yeah.
for the last 6 years of the girls hockey Calgary.
Well, not 6, but
Triple
Yeah, you
A.
were in SAIT, so
I was with SAIT from 2018-19 till 22, I guess it was.
yeah.
And then I came back to girls hockey Calgary, and Jim and I and Cassie coached a U13 team. Then they asked Jim to coach U15. He said, well, if my dad helps me, because I can't make it all the time. So we've been doing this as a second year.
Oh, okay.
But Cassie jumps on when she can.
Is Cassie as a kid there, or?
Yeah, her daughter plays for us.
Yeah, she's a
So
forward.
I have
defensive?
Cassie like work with the D. Her daughter's a forward.
Okay.
So, the defensive kind of the part of the game. So she'll be on there today. Emily's student teaching, and it goes almost to 4, so she'll miss the first half hour. So she can't leave that early. So it'll be Cassie and I. I want to work on a lot of individual and team defensive stuff because we had 2 practices already this week. We did a lot of offensive stuff.
Okay. So I know Craig Parrott, he wants to turn the program around. So what do you see needed for the girls hockey? Yeah, I only watched the double A's so far.
Well, I think they've got that shooting going on. Like I don't agree with this fitness thing they do once a week doing some fitness. I would much rather have spin. That would help a lot more. If I could do
The
spin
legs.
earlier in the week, and then to get them to do intervals. I used to do that before with college, and it really helped.
Yeah.
Because you don't have time to do a lot of fitness skating or anything. With only 2 practices a week.
I know.
And I think like we're talking about it all through, like in Europe, the kids pass from day one, and then most of them play soccer, so they get that idea of moving it. So the game sense and playing as attack as 5 people, not 1 person. And learn that if there's no ice in front of you, maybe you regroup and start over. Like just shooting the puck in is, sometimes it's the right play.
Oh, I can't do it.
If there's no other play, right?
Claude, yeah.
We play a lot of games where no dump-ins are allowed.
Oh,
You know when the wheel was invented, Claude?
No.
Well, you're reinventing the wheel again because I've worked there for 4 years, and you're now coming in and you asked him the question, what do they need? Well, they need to develop some hockey IQ. The small area games will help that if coaches can't teach.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that art of using the game or using a drill and intervening, stopping it, making sure they understand the purpose.
Yeah.
They can do the drill to accomplish its purpose. But sometimes they don't have the skills to do the drill. And they have to work on them a little while to go back to the drill.
Yeah.
Then when you play a small area game or a whole ice game, a half ice game or a cross ice game, they're applying those skills they practiced in drills and with the extra skating they're doing on their own in the morning. So the gap is bridging that, taking the tactical skills and applying them into application in the game. That means hockey sense, decision making, using them the right way. Right now in offense, all there is direct attack. You're lucky if there's a pass across, a deliberate one. Last night we had a nice pass across. U13 for a tap-in goal, but there's no indirect attack. There's no delays. There's no low to high. There's no cycling.
Well,
There's no
that's
sustained
exactly what they need to work on, and I've seen that. And then it seems like cycling doesn't exist, low to high doesn't exist, and and then the zone entry. I don't know what they're teaching the girls. And I watched also a game, A division there. I practiced a couple of practices, and I know it's not the Fires, but I guess I heard the coach, he's good explaining stuff. But the two practices I saw, and the parents are starting to wonder, he's on the board way too long, and they're barely skating. And sometimes they got half ice practice, or they only got 1 hour practice, and he's on the board like 30 minutes, I swear.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't talk a player into being a good player.
No, I think at the elite level, the board time is good. They're not too long. The drills are good, for the most part, accomplishing their purpose. I'd like to see a little more variety of going from deliberate drills to letting them figure it out. And a good example, and I've talked to Kyle Wanvig about it, I've got every U13 doing Thomas Pacina's continuous 2-on-2 regroup. So you regroup, you throw the puck to the D, and then you simulate a forecheck. They regroup and they go. There's a regroup the other way against a forecheck. And right now they can do deliberate regroups, but not with pressure. Well, what good is a regroup without pressure?
Yeah, so there's a drill that I did with my U18 boys 2 years ago. And I would be, the coaches were at center, the players would be at center, and then 2D would jump in. It's a breakout on the forecheck. So I would throw the puck down, and then just a forward, just to start the drill, and then they break out, and then they give me the puck at center, and the forwards, after giving me the puck, I start with one guy forecheck the other side. So it's continuous, and then I add a second guy. It's like, you break out, give me the puck, forecheck, the other group is ready, and I put the pucks in different situation. I rim it, I shoot it on the glass, I flip it up in the air, or I bubble it on the goalies, and they have to figure it out against one forechecker, then two forecheckers. They break it out, give me the puck, and they design one or two guys forechecking. It goes back and forth and back and forth, and it forces guys to react. And
yeah, you're not going to be able to do that with any of the teams. If you can get them to do the Thomas's continuous 2-on-2, and the second stage is dump it in, continuous forecheck 2-on-2 or 3-on-2.
mm-hmm.
It just continuous drill, one puck whistleless drill.
And the good thing about that drill is, like, they're skating all the time, and fitness and everything. That's why I try, if I don't have much time, I try to create drills that there's a lot of skating and skating and skating, so there's not too much standing around if I have an hour practice.
But the purpose of the drill isn't the skating.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's the thinking, the decision making. In a deliberate drill, Claude, you're passing to this player at this spot, this player to this spot, and shooting from this spot. Skill practice, no pressure,
mm-hmm.
no hockey IQ.
Yeah.
So the continuous game, the small area games, the awareness, the getting open, the anticipation, support, puck protection, looking and seeing the ice.
Yeah.
That's what's missing. When you say what's missing, that's what's missing.
Yeah, and then it goes back to what I just said with that one team there. The coach is on the board teaching them positioning, and they got 2 practices a week, and one is half ice, and then when they play the game, they play like they practice. They sit around. They don't. So
Right. Yeah, you're working at the community level now, eh?
yeah, but still, if my daughter was me as an NHL guy, my daughter was at that level, I would do the same thing as I do at the higher level. The girls, they want to learn, and some girls, maybe they're not as motivated, but if you bring stuff to the table, they'll start. They'll be motivated and they'll try and they'll finally say, finally, somebody's teaching me something. And it's no matter what level, double A or triple A, or that's my
It's
take on
funny,
it.
this team I'm coaching, you do the draft and you've ranked all the players. Right now, some of our middle players that we picked, they're our best players now. We passed their top drafts. One of them, she took 2 one-timers on hot rebounds, eh? Like off the pads, and the puck is just screaming to her, and she put them both in the net. That's a really high skill play for anybody.
Yeah,
And so you never know who's going to.
because
Really
sometimes
come on.
like I seen it with the bus, some kids never got coaching coming up, and they always the hierarchy, they always be put down, and then when they come to me, if you can do it, you do it, a little bit like your girls, and by the end of the season, my third and fourth lines were the most reliable in the playoffs, and that's
Well,
our first line right now, where none of them were ranked at the top when we started, from what we saw. And they're by far our best line.
Oh yeah, I could see that happening. If you're open-minded as a coach too.
yeah. See, one of the things with the draft, you draft the players. They watch them like hawks. Like, I mean, the notes they take. And Tom's son, who's a lawyer, the notes and record keeping, evaluating all the traits of the team. They know what they're picking. And I did my own ranking, and there were players that were picked that I didn't even have ranked that are improved so much, I can't believe I didn't recognize them.
Mm-hmm.
During the tryouts, they worked hard. That's about all they did, but they never did anything. And the coaches saw something in them on the ice that I didn't see.
Yeah.
And kudos to them, because, like Tom said, I watched Kyle's team last night, and his top picks are the top talented players, the strongest players. But boy, some of the middle ones, they're smart hockey players. They're going to be probably better players at the U15 level than some of the top players at this level.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here for. Develop them. Claude, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys, and I appreciate that was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great seeing you, Claude.
Yeah, we'll see you at the rinks, boy.
Well, if you want to jump on the ice with us tonight,
Tonight I can't, but if you ever want me to come and just skate around,